your candidates, and then when you support them, hold them all, every one of them accountable. And upholding the rule of law, I'm just going to tell you, there is no reason that the state of Texas should have a sanctuary city operating in the state of Texas. We are now a sanctuary state. Do you understand that? Mm-hmm. We are a sanctuary state, and we've allowed it to happen. Because whether you're like Houston, where they actually have policies on the books that prohibit their law enforcement from checking legal status, or it's just a de facto one of those things, you just don't do it, it's just an understood thing. I've told our state officials, some of them on the ballot this time, running for higher office, I hope and pray that we don't have a terrorist attack that can be traced to the wide open southern border that we have with Mexico. Because you know what might be home? Not when, not if, but when a reporter comes to me and asks me what I think about it, I'm going to say, you know what? It's just not Washington. Washington's not the only people responsible for this disaster. Our state officials in Texas are guilty too. There are things that we can do to support law enforcement. And I will tell you that sending those wonderful Texas National Guard personnel down to the border is not securing that border. And if you've got some questions after I get done, I'm going to try to wrap up real quick. I'll answer those for you. So, what is this saying about our legislative sessions? And I'll let you just look at that comparison of Texas with California. The last two legislative sessions we've had, the Tea Parties have been active. We've been down in Austin the last two sessions. We have all statewide officials are conservative Republicans. The House has a supermajority of Republicans. The Senate has a majority. And yet, 51% of all of the bills that were passed out of the House last session were authored by Democrats. Governor Perry vetoed 1% of those bills. So 50% of all the bills that passed into law last session were authored by Democrats. Makes you feel pretty good, right? So, what are we doing about it? Well, we have the Life, Liberty, and Property Tour. I'm still doing my individual talks around the state. And I think the Life, Liberty, and Property Tour, since we started last fall, we've probably done over 40 cities across the state. We'll be going to Amarillo toward the end of the month. And that's hard for a girl that doesn't like to travel. I never thought I'd be doing that, because I have to tell you, I'm a person, I like to get one place and stay and get a job done, and all this flitting around everywhere and going to all these hotels. I don't enjoy it, but I enjoy telling the people the truth. And I would ask you and invite you that anything that I've told you tonight, this presentation is on our website at Grassroots America. I have a source for every single thing I've told you. Can be tied right back to a document. And if any of your sassy elected officials, I think most of your state officials agree with me, but if you've got one that doesn't, invite them to debate me. I'd love to do that sometime. But let me tell you what we're doing across the state. More and more people are waking up because the two most liberal state senators, the two most liberal Republican state senators, were fired in the primaries because people just like you got sick and tired of it, and they saw the distance between what the incumbent said he was doing in Austin and what he was actually doing. See, anybody can go down there and file a bill. Filing a bill is meaningless. And in fact, if you read some of them, you will know how meaningless they are. They're filed for show, so that they can come back home and tell you, I filed a bill, I filed a bill. A bill does not matter if it doesn't get out of a committee. So we need to have different leadership down there, and I can't tell you how much we need to be rid of Joe Strauss. And then on the Senate side, we need to hold Dan Patrick's feet to the fire, and I intend to do that. I told Dan from the very beginning, you know, Dan, we got some cleaning up we need to do on the Senate side. Because American laws for American courts that would ban international law and Sharia law, and I don't care if there's a reporter here and you don't believe that's happening in the United States, I am so sorry for you. Because it most assuredly is. I've read so many reporters go, oh, that's just those crazy Tea Party people. They just like to make up that stuff. No, it's actually happening. And Sharia law is actually being invoked in communities across the United States. But we couldn't get that bill out of the Senate the last two sessions. We told Dan Patrick, that bill needs to move. Because you see, the lieutenant governor has the sole responsibility for moving those bills off of the Senate calendar onto the floor. And we hope to get rid of the 31 vote rule that mandates, the blocker bill that requires a majority of, that would require the Democrats and the Republicans to join together to decide where the bill comes to the floor. It's time to get some reforms done. It's time to make Texas strong. It's time to stop the overspending, the reliance on the federal government, and so much debt. It's time to make Texas strong. I hope you agree with me. I hope that you will stay strong with your Tea Party leadership here. I know that it gets very, very discouraging. When you look at the news every day, sometimes I just want to pretend it's not there. But you see, when we pretend it's not there, bad people get away with stuff. We've got to stay vigilant. And since I'm in the house of God right now, I'm just going to tell you that there is absolutely no giant in this land that's bigger than the God I hope you serve. To think about what it means to live in the United States of America. And not all of us can do the same thing. But there's something you can do. And find out what that is. If it's to make a phone call, I have to tell you, silence to elected officials equals approval. Silence from you to elected officials means approval. Call them. If you would institute the power of 5, and you call 5 people, and you hold them accountable to getting 5 other people each to call, that's a block of 31 people. And I will tell you that if an elected official gets 31 calls in any day about any one topic, they have a runaway on their hands. Do you see how little it takes to put the fear of we the people in them? I urge you to do that. We've got to do everything we can to preserve what our veterans fought for. Thank you so much.
You did allude to it, but you never did say the position you held on the rainy day fund and the transportation fund.
I'm opposed to it, adamantly opposed to it. Grassroots is sending out in fact, I just approved our door hangers, another set of door hangers today, and we're going to be updating our website. Let me tell you what, and I told Senator Nichols this. I'm telling you the same things I told Senator Robert Nichols, who's chairman of the Transportation Committee, used to represent part of Smith County. I've known Robert a long time, and he used to be on the Transportation Commission. When he got done visiting with me and Tyler about Prop 1, I looked at him and I said, I could be more sympathetic to your plight there, Senator, if I trusted the people that are in charge of the money. I don't, so I won't. Here's why. There's a couple of websites that if you want to read up on all of the hair-raising things, the Transportation Commission and the Department of Transportation, TxDOT does. Now don't go get mad at your guy that's working on the highways, TxDOT guy, because he's got nothing to do with it. It's the upper management, okay? They just do what they're told. Like, I don't know, resurfacing roads that don't need it this time of the year so that we can spend down what we've got left in our budget. It's very annoying, it really is. If you go to Empower Texas and you look for the articles written by a young man named Chris Paxton, it's very easy to find. And we've got some of the articles posted on our website. You will find things like approving research for hovercraft, driverless vehicles, jetpacks, and all this space age type of futuristic travel. You will find an enormous mess made by these toll roads. And let me say this for the record, there is a dangerous trend of private companies that are blowing through communities, trying to tell communities, we're a different kind of toll road. We're a different kind of toll company. We still need some of your money, but we're going to do this different. But you know what the problem is with the private toll companies? Some of these toll companies have the power of eminent domain. Friends, a private company should not be able to take private property. Period. Okay? So, if you look at the excess spending, and I could tell you some more. For example, the regional mobility authorities, when they go to approve contracts for a section of highway, even if the bids come in lower than they projected, they can still keep that money. In Austin, for example, when the MOPAC, to add an extra lane, MOPAC lane, came in $20 million under the estimate, they kept that money allocated to them, and they are going to use it for something called enhancements. And I can tell you that enhancements doesn't have a thing to do with moving traffic, which is what we're supposed to be doing, particularly in these big metro areas, is unsnarling the traffic. And this multi-leveraging of tolls sections to leverage this next section, it's a house of cards. And we're on the hook for it. If those toll companies go belly up, guess who gets to pay for them? They're part of it. So I'm just saying, another website, TURF, TURF.org. Texans Uniting for Reform and Freedom. You've probably heard of her. Terry Hall. She makes the lawmakers down there nuts. She is a homeschool mom. She has, I think Terry has 9 children, but she has attended all of the Transportation Commission hearings for I think the last 10 years or more. And Terry Hall knows more about transportation than most any elected official does because she reads the documents. So if you want to find more horror stories, but let me just say, if they're already wasting the money they have, and they're already spending money on trolley cars and light rail and crazy projects that don't have to do with moving vehicles, real vehicles up and down the road, why do you want to give them another revenue stream? See, they're telling you that the world's gonna come to an end. Oh no, there will be no more building of highways in Texas if this constitutional amendment is not passed. And they tell you that it is not diverting money from the rainy day fund. No, it's grabbing the money before it gets through the door. It's the same thing. And by the way, they tell you that it can't be used for toll roads. Well, you know what? There are these little creative financing tools that they use that when they take a bucket of money and they allocate it to your regional mobility authorities, guess what? TxDOT may not be able to use it for toll roads, but your regional mobility authority can. So, until I trust the people with the money, I don't ever believe in giving them more. Okay? Yeah. I think this gentleman over here had a question.
I'll document my comments. In 1848, Frederick Engels financed a German named Karl Marx. And that's when they published the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. It found a home in Russia, financed by the Rockefellers. I just looked up on my phone. By the way, I had 2 phones and 2 pens. That's just for a little levity. The average spending in school, public school in Texas, is $12,000 a student. So much so that an incompetent, no names, whatever the top, what's the top in the school system?
Superintendent school board.
It's not even the superintendent. Principal. An incompetent principal was given an $80,000 job in Pine Tree to coordinate the Hispanic matriculation into the school system. That's berserk. And I'm paid for that. And to quote one that we all know, all it takes for good men, for evil to triumph, is for good men to do nothing. Unfortunately, you're limited by time, and I understand that. But as long as the communists, and that's what they are, we have all 10 planks in America today. But as long as the communists can start indoctrinating the children now 4 and 5 years old and up, then we're going to continue to have the kind of leadership. The punctuation mark, unfortunately, is the governor of this stinking state that comes in on a national forum and says, well, yeah, I want these illegal aliens to have free college tuition here in the state of Texas. I mean, it should have been removed immediately, as soon as he said that. I'm very disappointed. I'm very concerned. You can address any of those points?
Yes, and I will tell you, I understand what you're saying. Absolutely, you're correct. And I'll tell you that the way I became an activist, I started at the local level 23 years ago by attending school board meetings. Because frankly, my husband and I had a 3-year-old, and I was concerned about what in the world I was going to do when it was time for him to go to school. And what I found when I started looking, I was absolutely horrified to learn that there were no spelling books in the classroom. They had stopped, at least in our school district, had stopped teaching the multiplication, the numbers, facts, addition and subtraction and multiplication. I was going, what? You know what, when I was in college, all the time that I was in college, and I was out working on my career, what the heck happened to this education system? See, I didn't pay attention to it until I had a child that was ready to go. So I attended school board meetings, and I have to tell you that it is, there are a lot of well-intentioned people in public education, and there are some good people in public education, dedicated people. But so much of what they do is driven by feelings. It's about, you know, if we feel good about what we've done, we've succeeded. Try that in the private sector. It doesn't work. You know, somebody has to be the tough one to say, now little Johnny, you did, you know, you just did terrible on this test. And you know, son, if you don't start paying attention, you're not going to have good consequences in your life. And you know, I have teachers that tell me that they get students now that they have to teach them the basics of good manners, like to sit in a chair. And then you have the administration that doesn't support the teachers and let the kids just run wild and abuse the teachers. So we have a complete meltdown of the culture. That's what we have. So what does that look like in my work? Well, I'm minding my own business at the grocery store. When my family says, on the rare occasion that she gets there. And, or at the post office, I'll have people stop me and say, I know you're busy, but I just have to talk to you about my property taxes. My property taxes are out of control, Miss Fleming. What are we gonna do about it? So after you've been in this for 23 years as a volunteer, there's a part of you that just gets a little cranky every now and then, because it's like sometimes people just wake up one day and go, gee, it looks like everything's broken around here, and who broke it? And where can I find them? And how can I fix it just like that? Well, you know what? You can't fix it just like that. It takes time and effort. It takes we, the people, being there. So I asked this well-intentioned person, do you know who represents you on your school board? No. Do you know who represents you on your commissioner's court? No. Do you know who represents you on your city council? No. Have you ever been to a public meeting? No. Do you know what the number one thing is in their budget that they spend money on? No. Do you know how fast the tax levy has risen over the last 5 or 10 years? No. Friends, then I say, in the sweetest way I know how, to this person, okay, so here's a little homework for you. I want you to, when you go home, go immediately to the first mirror in your house and look deeply into that mirror. You have met the enemy, and it is you. And a lot of people like you. Friends, we have made all the mistakes that the founders told us not to do. They said that they had left us a representative republic that would be truly limited government if we kept it. We have not. And as prosperity has risen in these United States, the more checked out our culture has become. To the point, and I'm going to swerve into a social issue here now because I just feel like it. The issue of undermining traditional marriage. You know, I heard Britt Hume say today, that's just the way it's going to be. Because there has never been a faster 180 by the American people on any single